presenting on this topic.
Thank you, Juliana. I'll be honest with everybody, it's been a while since I've presented, so I've got a little bit of nerves, but I hope that by the end of this that you learn about some resources that are out there to learn about the work that the House of Commons does, but also how us as a community, how we can hold our members of parliament accountable. So I think a great place to start, actually, if it will let me go next. There we go. See, I very much so empathized with Jacob with the learning how to do the share screen. I'm still a newbie at it myself. So here's a quote from the Honorable George Drew, Leader of the Opposition. He writes, "We use the words House of Commons very often without pausing to reflect upon what those words mean. The word Commons means the people. This is the House of the people. Sitting on both sides of this House and on both sides of the Speaker are representatives of every constituency of Canada. Collectively, those of us who meet in this chamber represent all Canadians. That is our responsibility. That is our duty." It's dated June 4th, 1956. Now, one of the big questions that I get in particular is the House of Commons comes up on the news. There's a bunch of green seats. There's a really long green carpet, and I don't really know who's who. So I think the first person that we need to start with is if you look at where the green arrow is pointed, you'll see a big green chair. That's for the Speaker of the House of Commons. Now, the Speaker is chosen at the beginning of every parliament. It's a sitting member. They can be new, they can be a returning member, but the Speaker is selected to be what you would consider a referee of sorts. Their purpose is to keep the peace in the chamber, make sure that rules are being followed. And in the case where problems arise, they can rule on how the House of Commons is meant to move forward. Now, and you'll see in the top left corner, you'll see a gentleman in a uniform and some teenagers standing in front of him in uniforms. So the teenagers that you see are actually House of Commons pages. They're first-year university students studying in the National Capital Region, so Ottawa and Gatineau in Ontario and Quebec, respectively. And they have the opportunity to work under the purview of the Speaker, and they help assist with how the chamber functions. Now, if you look to the red arrow, that is indicating the government side. So as you'll see, it looks, the House of Commons chamber is set up in an adversarial kind of setup. So the government, the government is on the right-hand side of the Speaker with the red arrow, and the opposition is with the blue. And each of the seats are divided based on how many constituencies have been voted for each of the parties. In the case of the opposition, we have more than one opposition party. So in particular for us right now, our official opposition, which is the party that has the largest amount of seats, but not enough to form government, is the Conservative Party. The next party after that is the Bloc Québécois. And our third party is the New Democratic Party. And the next arrow, if you can look at the orange one, it's a very long table. And typically, if you're watching the House in session, you'll see people in robes that are there. They're there to advise the Speaker, because as much as we like to think that we know everything, we cannot know every possible thing. So they help advise the Speaker on any decisions. And the purple arrow that you see is for Hansard, which is the official record of debates. The purpose of Hansard was to teach us that there is a belief that if we document what decisions have been made in the past, we won't repeat them in the future. Now, whether or not that's been the case, I think that's up for everybody to decide in how they see it. So that is one of the first things that we see. The next question I get is, why should I care? Well, your member of parliament is elected to represent you. And if you want to make your voice heard on something, you have a lot of options available to you. One of which is you can find your member of parliament on ourcommons.ca. You can find out how to contact their office, which party they're for, and also look at what positions they're taking on several topics. And on the main website, there's an opportunity for a participate button. You can submit a petition, you can contact your member, you can watch a live debate, and there are many other resources too to learn a few new things. You can also take part on watching one of the parliamentary committees. With everything in COVID, everything's on Zoom, so it's a platform that we're all familiar with. And this is one of the options to look at. It's called Parl View. And so it allows you to watch in real time what discussions are happening both in the chamber, but also in parliamentary committees. And you can find them by day. And if you're interested in research and you're looking at, and you want to learn more about a specific topic, a source of information that Parliament uses quite a lot is the Library of Parliament. Now, a lot of people think it's just the big, beautiful library, which you see here, with a lot of fancy books, but actually every day, analysts are working to generate research papers on all topics that come before Parliament. So especially if you're doing research, if you're in your master's, your PhD, or you're looking to just learn something new in general, it's a great resource to use. And yeah, that's all I got. I realize there's a lot of areas to cover when talking about Parliament, but those were just some of the questions that have come my way. So if you have any more, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you very much.